Hello and welcome, KDL fans. I am your host, King L5, and today I am bringing you my Season 1 draft analysis. Alright, so the KDL is a league that I am hosting. I made it with a custom rule set. Basically, the only thing that really changed is the point system is not determined on your Mega. You get 400 points regardless. But instead of getting 2 tier 3s, as per normal GBA drafting, the second, third tier is actually transformed into a bonus pick. And that bonus pick can be either a tier 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on what Mega you have. So a tier 1 Mega, your bonus pick is going to be a tier 4 Pokemon. If you have a tier 4 Mega, your bonus pick is going to be a tier 1 Pokemon. So I felt that made the draft planning very interesting, and I really like the concept. So that's what we're going to be doing for the KDL. And yeah, so let's get right into my draft. So we all, except for Versus, we all decided to randomize our Megas, and I ended up with the Mega Shrimp, Gyarados. Now this Pokemon has pretty nice stats, not gonna lie, pretty nice bulk. It does get the Intimidate pre-Mega, which means it can take physical hits while it's setting up a Dragon Dance. It has the very nice 155 base attack. 81 speed is not too good, but with a Dragon Dance it can still outspeed most things, apart from Scarfers. Fast Scarfers can easily revenge this thing, but if you get 2 Dragon Dances up, you can basically break through anything and outspeed anything on your opponent's team. The 130 Spadef is very nice. 70 special attack is kind of usable. Say my opponent has a Ferrothorn, I could use HP Fire, or like a what is it called? Fortress. Could also run HP Fire for that. My opponent has a Bisharp, I can run HP Fighting and OHKO that. I don't think anyone drafted Bisharp, but that's none of my business. This thing does get a very nice move pool. It does have Crunch. Mostly what you're going to see is Crunch, Dragon Dance, Waterfall, and a coverage move. Probably Ice Fang would be the most common. Not saying I'm going to run this every week, but this is probably like a sample set, and probably like enough speed to outspeed, oh I don't know, Adamant base 70s or something, I don't know. Whatever I need. Next up, I decided to go with Taboo Guru. This gets a really nice start on my Fairy Dragon Steel Core, and also a very solid 2 out of 3 for my Fire Water Grass Core. Now this Pokemon is very good in my opinion. Definitely worth the round 1 pick, because Megas were in a separate round, and this was the first round of regular Pokemon. I felt this was a very good pick because its ability Grassy Surge. Summons grassy terrain. This thing is very versatile. Even though its move pool is not very deep, it's actually quite shallow. This thing can run Assault Vest, it can run Special Defensive, Physically Defensive, it can run a Choice Band, Choice Scarf. There's just so many things you can do with this. You can use Bulk Up, you can use Calm Mind if you're into that, Leech Seed, Nature's Madness as like a fat breaker. Swords Dance looks pretty scary. You can go for Taunt to break down walls that it usually can't break down. You can definitely like sub-bulk up on some things. Gets Whirlwind, I didn't know that. Does get Stone Edge, Rock Slide, Roar. Again, Whirlwind basically 2.0. Gets Grass Knot, that's pretty intense. But anyways, this Pokemon I feel is very versatile. Hits super duper hard with the Wood Hammer in grassy terrain off that 130 attack. It's going to do lots of damage, even to resists. It doesn't get Play Rough, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't really need Play Rough. It would be nice to have, but it's a really solid Pokemon how it is. The 75 speed is decent enough where I can outspeed other slower Pokemon, and the defense and special defense are very nice, coupled with the 70 HP, which isn't awful. It can definitely run defensive sets quite effectively, especially with the grassy terrain, giving it basically a free leftovers, so you can run double leftovers basically, or you can run Assault Vest and still have the pseudo leftovers. Life Orb, you're only taking 4% because of the pseudo leftovers. But yeah, I felt this was a very solid Pokemon. It works pretty well with Gyarados because it can break down Pokemon that Gyarados can't, so that my Gyarados can sweep late game. Next up, I decided to go for Jirachi, one of the best Pokemon in League format in my opinion. This thing is so versatile, base 100 across the board, means it can basically do any set that you want, physically defensive, specially defensive, choice scarf, special attacker, calm mind, physical attacker, choice band, choice specs even. You can go for wish passing, you can go for stealth rocks. This thing gets an amazing move pool. Healing wish, also a very solid option. I can magic coat if my opponent is bringing like sticky web and I want to bounce that back. I feel like that would be a really cool option. I can go for Thunder Wave, Toxic Trick, again Wish, U-Turn to grab that momentum, Doom Desire, which I probably won't be using, but that's a pretty heat thing to do. Power Up Punch is pretty cool. With the Power Up Punch and Serene Grace, you actually get a 200% chance to raise the attack by 1, so that's pretty nice, not gonna lie. Draco Meteor, I think this is one of the only non-dragon types that gets Draco Meteor, which is pretty cool. I can definitely, like, if my opponent has a Zardex, which no one does because it was undrafted, but hypothetically if someone had a Zardex, I could just bop that with a Draco Meteor as he tries to set up on me, and that would be hilarious, not gonna lie. Next up, I'm gonna go with my boy Jirachi. Now this is a Pokemon that I really wanted to use. It's a Poison Dragon type, and so that's really nice to finish out my Dragon Fairy Steel Core. Also, the Poison type is really good, especially with a lot of fairies entering the metagame in Gen 7. It makes it so that I'm no longer weak to them. This thing is also quite versatile, although it is quite slow. It can run specially defensive, toxic spikes. It can even run physically defensive. It has the 90 defense, so it is kind of decent enough to run a physically defensive set. Poison Dragon gives it a ton of useful resists. Like, it resists fire, it resists grass, it resists other poison. Fairy is neutral, but it does have a lot of nice resists. It is a very, very good fire resist. With an Assault Vest on, it's not taking any damage from any special fire moves. Even physical fire moves aren't going to be doing a lot, and with the Taboo Guru I did want a fire type switch in, and this is a very good one. It is weak to ground, but the Taboo Guru with the grassy terrain makes it so that Earthquake is half damage, so it's basically neutral when I have the terrain up, which is very nice. This thing can run Black Sludge, again Assault Vest, Choice Specs is a very strong set, gets adaptability as one of its abilities. It can run Leftovers, which is basically Black Sludge. Yeah, Rocky Helmet, this thing resists U-Turn, so I could chip away if my opponent has like U-Turn spam. Volt Turn, this thing resists both of those things. Air Balloon, because I'm weak to ground, could be a decent option. I'm just gonna not go through any more items and go through the moves. Draco Meteor is a huge one with the adaptability. This thing hits like a truck. Even though it's only a 97 special attack, Draco Meteor is a strong move, adaptability doubles the stab. It's very good. It gets Dragon Tail in case something wants to set up. Again, Haze for setup if I don't want to miss Dragon Tail, or if it's a fairy type that wants to set up, I can definitely do that. It gets Scald, which means I can burn anything. Sludge Bomb is a very nice poison stab. Gets Thunderbolt for coverage on like a Skarmory, for example. I don't think anyone drafted that. That's none of my business. Toxic Spikes is one of the reasons why I actually chose to pick up this Pokemon. Toxic Spikes can just destroy teams if they don't have hazard removal or they don't have good hazard removal. And like, Jirachi is just a very nice Pokemon in my opinion. Moving on to the next Pokemon, I wanted a spinner because Gyarados does not appreciate coming in on rocks. None of my Pokemon really appreciate hazards too much. Spikes are definitely an issue at this point. So I decided to go with one of the most reliable spinners in Donphan. This Pokemon has very nice stats for the first half and not so good for the rest half, but 90 HP is really good, 120 attack is phenomenal, 120 defense is also pretty nice, 60 special attack not going to be too usable, 60 special defense, again this is not the best thing in the world, but can be mitigated by running special defense EVs and an assault vest. This thing can take lots of special hits that way. Speed, base 50, but I have used a speedy Donphan before, and I'm not afraid to do it again. So this Pokemon is really great for this reason. It gets Rapid Spin, Stealth Rocks, and lots of coverage. I mean, just look at this coverage. It is amazing. Gets the Knockoff, which is very, very nice to have. Gets the Roar in case something wants to set up. And also I can phase around my opponent to take more hazard damage. Gets Toxic, Stone Edge obviously for the Edgequake combo. I can even run Brutal Swing, which is not going to be run at all. But yeah, this Pokemon is a very, very nice Pokemon. Fit well on my team. I needed a bulky ground type, and Donphan just seemed like the mon for me. And because I have a Mega Gyarados, this was my bonus pick. The Tier 2 Mega Gyarados gave me a Tier 3 or lower bonus pick, and that was Donphan. Next up, I decided I wanted a spin blocker, a very good spin blocker, because I wanted to keep my rocks and my toxic spikes up as long as possible, and I also wanted a sturdy physical wall. Donphan can serve as a physical wall, but it doesn't have reliable recovery, so it's not going to be taking too many hits. And that Pokemon is Agregas. Now this Pokemon definitely can serve as a physical wall with a 145 defense stat. It can also be a decent special wall if I need it with a base 105 special defense, not even bad at all. This Pokemon is quite versatile, even though it doesn't have the biggest move pool in the game. You can run Calm Mind, I've seen Knockoff. This also gets Toxic Spikes, Calm Mind is a set, Custap Destiny Bond if I'm into that. Gets Disable, which is kind of cool. It can go for Nasty Plot Trick Room if my opponent is especially weak to that. Will-O-Wisp is also a pretty nice move. Shadow Ball is the main stab. Pain Split as recovery. Not the most reliable recovery, but recovery nonetheless. Will-O-Wisp Hex, sorry about that, is a pretty nice moveset, not gonna lie. And yeah, I felt this Pokemon fit really well on my team. It gives me a Mega Lopunny counter because that was drafted. It gives me a Mega Medicham switch in, which also was drafted. And it gives me lots of... It's just a really nice mod on the team with the Ghost type. Bulky Ghosts are really valuable in League, in my opinion. And this is one of the best ones. And at Tier 4, I definitely wanted this. So next up, I needed a Tier 5. And I decided to go for my boy Licky. Now this Pokemon is really good for my team because if you look at my team, Donphan, Jirachi, Taboo Guru, Gyarados to an extent, Agregas also to an extent, although not as much. All these Pokemon are quite bulky, but don't have reliable recovery. Well, Licky gets this wonderful move called Wish, which means I can basically heal up any Pokemon that I choose to. At any time in the matchup, I just send in Licky, go for Wish, and switch out into the appropriate thing, heal it up, and I'll be good to go. This thing also gets Oblivious, which means it cannot be taunted, just like Aromatisse, which makes it a very good Wish and support Pokemon. You can run 4 non-offensive moves and never have to worry about taunts ruining your day. Another thing this gets, which is kind of a gimmick, but like, yeah, where is it? Belly Drum. Set up a Wish, go for Belly Drum, and you end up at the same amount of HP you were at before because the Wish activates after your Belly Drum. And yeah, I kind of want to use that, not gonna lie. I'm really thinking about it. This thing gets a lot of wonderful moves. Because it is a normal type, it gets a massive move pool. Gets the Swords Dance, gets the Seismic Toss if your opponent has a lot of normal resist. Body Slam is nice for the 100% para chance. You can go for the Dragon Tail to phase out Pokemon. Explosion is always nice to have. Gets fire coverage for those steel types. Also gets Hammer Arm. I don't know why I would run that. Knockoff Ice Punch. It gets coverage for a lot of things that can be 4 times weak to something, which is really nice. It also gets Toxic, which I can do some Toxic stalling. Amnesia is pretty cool. Yeah, it gets some setup opportunities as well. This Pokemon's stats are pretty nice, not gonna lie. 110 HP can pass those fat wishes. 95 defenses is nothing to laugh at, makes it very bulky. 85 attack is usable, 50 speed, not too good. And if you notice, my team is quite slow. Yeah, my bad. Next up, I decided to draft Zapdos. This is tied for my fastest Pokemon at base 100, which isn't the best, but my team is more of a bulky team, not going for the super fast stuff. And this Pokemon gives me a lot of nice resists. It gives me basically the best bird check in the game with Zapdos, the electric flying type. Well, the best bird check aside from Stunfisk, obviously. This thing is quite versatile as well. It can run Choice Specs, Choice Scarf, Zap Plate, Life Orb. It can run Leftovers, Defensive Set, Rocky Helmet, Static. I've seen that before. It can run Defog, gives me a nice defogger if my Rapid Spinner is walled by something, or like their Stealth Rocker gets up rocks on my Donphan, then I can't really spin on that. Defog is also nice to have. Agility makes it a nice win con if I need that. It also gets Charge if I want to boost that special defense. It gets really nice, not too big move pool, but it does have the coverage that it needs. The electric move, hidden power ice usually is pretty nice, and it gets, where is it, Heat Wave. Heat Wave is somewhere on here. Heat Wave, there we go. Extra sensory also if my opponent has a Toxicroak that was undrafted. That's pretty cool. Roost gives it reliable recovery, which means this thing can sponge a lot of hits that my other Pokemon don't really want to be whittled by. It gets U-turn if my opponent has a ground type and I still want the momentum. It gets the Tailwind if I ever want to use that. I don't imagine myself using Tailwind, but that's pretty cool as an option. It gets the Charge Beam, so I can slowly set up. Gets the Endure if I want to get last round of Rocky Helmet off, for example. Gets Metal Sound, I'm just going to stop there. The stats, well, they don't seem like the best. 90 HP, 85 defense, 90 special defense. With its typing, can run a very effective defensive set. 125 special attack is quite strong, and the 90 attack is usable. The base 100 speed allows it to be a very good Choice Scarf user if I want to go that route. Also a decent Choice Specs user because I can still outspeed most things. And overall I felt this was a very solid Pokemon. Gave me a nice sturdy ground resist, ground immunity, as at the moment I had Taboo Guru as my ground resist, and to an extent Agregas serving as a pseudo ground resist. This gives me like the sturdiest of ground resists. So next up I decided to go with a fire type to round off my Fire Water Grass Core, and I decided to go for Flareon, which is a pretty good tier 5 pick in my opinion. This thing is also quite versatile, can run Guts or Flash Fire. Flash Fire if I want to switch in on a fire type threatening my Tapu Bulu, for example. As I didn't really have the best of fire resists, I did have Gyarados and Jirachi, but both of those don't appreciate like Lava Plume burns. Jirachi not so much, but Gyarados especially. Also, Jirachi is not the sturdiest physical fire type switch in, and so the Flash Fire means I'm immune to fire. This thing can run a specially defensive Wish set with the base 110 special defense. It is quite bulky. Physically defensive, not so much. But another thing this thing can do is the Guts set, which is very nice wall breaker. Toxic Orb Guts gives me a super duper strong Flare Blitz. I think it's almost as strong as Darmanitan's Flare Blitz, which is pretty crazy to think about. Almost as strong or as strong, I'm not sure which one is which. I know Darmanitan has a higher base attack stat, but Guts is more of a boost than Sheer Force, so I think this is actually stronger, if I'm not wrong. This thing also gets Baton Pass if I want that momentum. Flame Charge is also a nice option if I want to outspeed everything. Gets Heal Bell as a nice support set. It also gets things like Quick Attack, gives me a little bit of priority in the back. Will-O-Wisp is very nice. Toxic, also nice. Wish, one of the best moves in the game, in my opinion, just because you can pass out HP to other Pokemon that need it. This thing also gets some other moves that, like Fire Spin. I don't know why you would do that, but it's pretty cool. You can trap opponents in. Yeah. So that's going to be my 9th Pokemon pick. And my last pick for my 10th pick is going to be Conkeldurr. I was looking at tier 2s and none of them were too nice. All the good ones got drafted basically. And Conkeldurr was the last one that really stood out to me as pretty decent on my team. I didn't have a fighting type at the time, and this gives me one of the best fighting types in the game. Gets 3 excellent abilities, Guts, Sheer Force, and Iron Fist. It can run Assault Vest, Choice Band, Life Orb. The Life Orb Sheer Force set hits like a truck. This thing is also quite defensive, quite bulky, can take a hit from almost anything. 105 HP, 95 defense, 65 special defense isn't the best, but with an Assault Vest, it can take pretty nice hits. 45 speed, again, my team is not the fastest, but it is very bulky. Everything on my team can take a hit from almost anything, and fire back with a pretty strong hit of its own. Base 140 attack is really its selling point. This thing has super strong Drain Punches, Hammer Arms, Ice Punches, Fire Punches, gets all the elemental punches basically. Knock Off, nice priority in Mach Punch. As you can see, my team has lots of priority options with the Mach Punch, Quick Attack from Flareon, Ice Shard from Donphan, and that's pretty nice to have. It gets Superpower if Hammer Arm is just not enough. It gets Stone Edge, Toxic if I want to do that, Power Up Punch, which I can't use with Sheer Force because it'll just negate the attack raise. Poison Jab, always good for fairies. And yeah, this thing just gets really nice coverage. Earthquake if I don't want to bring Taboo Guru, or I don't plan on having the grassy terrain up when Conkeldurr is in. Gets Bulk Up. Bulk Up Drain Punch is really nice set. Gets Brick Break if you want to be Cole. Yeah. This thing gets Counter also, which is a very nice option. I can run like a Psychic Resist Berry counter or a Flying Resist Berry counter, and that can deal with pretty big threats on my opponent's team if I manage to lure them in, which Conkeldurr does lure in those Flying and Psychic types quite easily, as they are basically the only things that can 1v1 this effectively. But yeah, so because of the point system, I had 400 points and I spent them on Jirachi, Zapdos, and Flareon, which means I got 2 tier 1s and a tier 5, and that was my 400 points completely gone. So I only had 10 Pokemon. Some people, like my week 1 opponent, Money Guy 9559, he actually preserved his points a little bit more. He got a tier 1, a tier 3, and 3 tier 5s. So he got 5 Pokemon out of those points, and that's something that I really like about the drafting rules. You can go for a smaller draft with higher quality picks, or you can go for a larger draft with lower tier picks. But the lower tier Pokemon are also pretty good, not gonna lie. Everything is usable in the league. Yeah, that is going to be my team, and yeah. That's gonna be all for me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And you thought this draft analysis was over. Actually, I forgot to mention something. I actually selected Taboo Guru to be my Z move user, so I can run Gracium Z Woodhammer so I don't get the recoil until the second time I use it. I can run Tapanium Z to get the Nature's Madness that does 75% to anything. I can run a Rockium Z to never miss a Stone Edge, and yeah, I feel like this was the best Z user on my team. Jirachi was also in the running for this, but I ultimately decided on Taboo Guru, and yeah, see you guys in the next one.